Hey guys, Chris from Average eSkate Reviews here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Series 2 GTR from Evolve, and of course the bamboo, because I always prefer bamboo boards over carbon boards, but that might change in a later video, so stay tuned for that one. Now, if you're trying to figure out the differences between this bamboo, the Series 2, and the original GTR bamboo, when we look at the physical changes, there's been two major updates to the actual board's construction. That's going to be the motors, which is the main thing I think everyone is going to notice when you look at this board at a glance. They're much bigger, they're like double the size. Anyone out there that says that size doesn't matter is a liar. Size matters. The motors are one of the things you're going to pick up on first of all. From there, it's going to be the fact that the motor controller has also been changed inside this board. The way that's going to affect your ride is, essentially, it means you're going to have a much smoother acceleration process, braking process, when you're feathering the throttle while you're riding and carving. All of that is going to be much smoother, much more consistent, because there's a better quality motor controller. There's bigger motors, so they're not working as hard, which leads on to the most important point. Anyone that experienced overheating issues with the previous motors, that's not going to be a concern with the Series 2. Their size means that you can go off-roading, donutting on grass, riding on gravel, on trails. You can really abuse this board and not have to worry about the motors overheating. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's like, oh, this is a great bonus. It's what you would have originally wanted to see on the GTR. But at least now we see it on the Series 2. So those are the main changes. But in terms of the actual deck, the battery, all of that is exactly the same as what we saw on the original GTR. There's a couple of cosmetical differences on the deck itself with how the logo for Evolve and the GTR is being displayed, but that's pretty much it. Now, when we flip the board over onto its back and we look at the belly of the board, the enclosure is pretty much exactly the same, except where the motor controller and all of the other electronics for the board are. That's kind of like a little bit more enclosed and encased, so it just makes servicing the board a lot more easier, and it's more durable and it looks better. But aside from that, that's pretty much all they've changed. The deck is the same, the trucks, the bushings, the wheels, everything else is pretty much exactly the same.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like it.
Now, when we look at the riding differences, what are you expecting? What are you getting out of this board? Now, when you ride this straight away, especially because I'm coming off of a Hadian bamboo, you're going to notice that there's a difference in power. So if you're wondering if this goes the same speed as the Hadian, has the same torque as the Hadian, it doesn't. It's going to be a little bit less than that. But of course, if you want more torque, you want more speed, you want the bigger battery, that's what the Hadian's for. But when you look... But when you look at the actual ride, what you do get, because of that updated motor controller and the bigger motors, like I said, no overheating, you can punish the board off-road, but it's just a much more smoother and consistent ride. You also do get a little bit more torque off the line. If you were to put a bamboo GTR against a Series 2 GTR and you pin the trigger, the Series 2 is going to have better acceleration than the original bamboo GTR. That's definitely a fact. But of course, that leads really nicely onto top speed. With the new Series 2, you're essentially getting the exact same top speed as you got with the previous generation, the bamboo GTR. That was around 22 miles an hour with the 7-inch wheels with the 66-tooth gear setup, and that's exactly what you can expect with this. Of course, the website does say it goes 24 miles an hour, but realistically, you can maybe get 24 when the board is at 100% battery. The second it drops to like 95 or 90, 22 miles an hour is the top speed you're getting out of the board. The bamboo GTR and also the Series 2 GTR have a very close range. It's tagged at about 18 miles. Now that's riding fairly aggressively. You can expect pretty much the same sort of range with this, somewhere between 16 to 18 miles, exactly as the GTR bamboo, somewhere between 16 and 18 miles. It does have bigger motors, but they're working more efficiently, so they're not going to really be depleting the battery as quickly as you might expect, because it's a bigger motored board, but it has the same battery as the previous generation, but the range is pretty much exactly the same. Now, some other changes that aren't technically physical but are going to be affected with your ride is going to be, because of the new motor controller, that means you have a new remote. Now, with the brand new remote that you get with this board that we've seen premiered on the Hadian range of boards, it means you have a lot more control over the board. You can change the braking curves, the acceleration curves. In addition to that, you can also have a proper odometer, so you can see exactly how many miles the board has done. You have all of the smart features that you would expect with the new motor controller and the new remote. You also even have the option to attach the LED strips or the lighting strips that you can get from Evolve, and whether they're on or they're off, aside from having cool colors that you can put at the bottom of the board to flash at nighttime, when you pull the brake on the remote, the lights will flash red. So if you're riding around in a city or at night, that's definitely a big feature to have. Having a board that shows anyone behind you that you're braking is always appreciated, especially at night from a safety perspective. So those are welcomed updates. Now, giving you a summary of what my experience has been like on the bamboo GTR 2 or the Series 2, Going from this board and having just come off of the Hadean bamboo, it's definitely not something that you're going to sit there and go, oh, this feels like an amazing upgrade. It's when you jump back on the original GTR and then jump onto the Series 2 that you notice the difference. The acceleration is much, much better, but aside from it being quicker off the line, it's also much smoother. In addition to this, like I said, when you're riding and you're carving and you're like feathering the accelerator as either you're sliding the board out or just carving really hard, the whole interaction that you have with the responsiveness of the acceleration and the braking is smoother and a lot more predictable and responsive. And it's also nice knowing that if I've been off-roading, as you guys know previously, I had motor overheating issues with the original GTR bamboo. It threw me off after a brutal day of sliding, drifting, riding off-road in grass. The motors just couldn't handle it. Now that's not something you have to worry about with this board, which is a welcomed update. No more overheating, no more having to worry about how much you're punishing the board. But something that I did do, if you remember the previous video I did explaining street wheels and all-terrain wheels that I'll link down below, that was with the original GTR bamboo. I talked about switching this board out to a 47 or 48 tooth gear setup using the 6-inch wheels, and what that meant was the board would go much, much quicker, but your range would obviously be punished and the board would overheat after going a couple of miles. Now, the advantage of doing that was for about 2 miles, I could get this board on a 7-inch wheel setup to 25, 26 miles an hour, which was great. But of course, it would overheat and shut you down into eco mode. Now, because of these bigger motors, you've now got the option to do that without having to worry. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this board. Bigger motors, less worry about them being punished and overheating, which means you can really mess around with the different gear setups that you put on this board to get more speed out of it or to get more range out of it. You've got a lot more options. It's a wide open book of what you can do with it. And that is probably going to be one of the more welcomed updates that you're going to be able to do to the brand new Series 2. Now, in terms of who I'd recommend this board for, that's probably something that I don't do in all of the videos, but I felt like when you've got the Hadean and you've got the Series 2 now, where does it fall? Where are you supposed to go? Because this isn't a Hadean killer by any means. It's nowhere near as powerful off the line. It doesn't have the same top speed. It doesn't have the same range. It's a completely different deck. It's a little bit shorter. It doesn't have the drop down. Now, all of these things kind of make it kind of seem like, who's this board targeted at? A lot of riders that get big beastie boards that can do 27 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, I don't feel like the majority of you, the vast majority of those types of riders are using the board to anywhere near its full potential. Now, of course, it's nice to have that ability should you want to, but if you're not and you're buying a board that's over 2,000 or into almost 3,000 pounds or even more, and you're not using it to its full capabilities, it kind of seems a bit pointless. I feel like this board would really do well for the majority of riders out there that go on group rides, that commute, that maybe want to take a board off-road, hit up a couple trails. This board would be more than sufficient for the vast majority of riders out there. It just really comes down to how fast do you want to go on a board, how much range do you want the board to have. That's what's going to be the deciding factor between this board, perhaps the Hadean, or a completely different board in general. But as always, guys, a big thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. Hopefully I've answered all of your questions about what is different about this board versus the original GTR bamboo, and of course the Hadean board as well. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments down below. If you want to see a VS against the Hadean with this board over here, the Series 2, let me know about that and I'll try and get that made for you. But aside from that, guys, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. And of course, before we go, if you're considering picking up an Evolve board, the code is down below for you to be able to save some cash when you're ordering. So there's a link there and also a coupon code for you to use while you're purchasing worldwide to save you some cash when you're picking up a board. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care till next time.